And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, April 27th, 2026, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemasters Reviews. Thank you all for joining me. I wasn't able to make it last week. I thankfully did an announcement about that. I was only able to see The Mummy, okay movie, but I was able to see two movies this week, so I was able to make a show out of it. We are going to be reviewing two movies this week. Michael, the new biopic about pop legend Michael Jackson, as well as Mother Mary, another movie about a fictional pop star directed by David Lowery. I say we jump right into the show, starting with our first review of the night, and easily the most popular movie of the weekend, Michael, directed by Antoine Fuqua. You might recognize that name from Training Day, the Equalizer films, the remake, The Magnificent Seven. This movie follows the life of obvious pop legend Michael Jackson. I'm going to assume you probably know who Michael Jackson is. This biopic takes you through the life of him as a child pop star with the Jackson Five, and his family. His strenuous relationship with his dad, both on a personal level and and on a business level, to the point where he eventually breaks away from his family in order to go and do solo records by himself, covering his entire career throughout the 1980s. This is a movie, I don't feel like I can really talk about this movie without explaining the backstory around it. I had heard quite a few years back that they were planning on making a Michael Jackson biopic, and I believe it was supposed to come out a few years ago. But when the Michael Jackson estate saw the initial cut, they did not like how Michael was portrayed and told the producers to go and recut it and re-edit it and reshoot it and take out a lot of the stuff that might make Michael look bad. So apparently they did it in order to gain permission from the estate to use his music. Because I will say, after seeing this movie, it seems like the main thing the filmmakers were the most interested in was presenting Michael Jackson's music on a big screen and in a cinematic way. And with that, while that might have given us a good movie in the estate's eyes, it does not give us a good movie from any like invested film goers' eyes. I really did not like this movie, and part of me wants to get come on here and say like every small little thing this movie does wrong, which it does a lot wrong. There are very few things it does do right, and like throughout the entire movie I was just saying like, that's stupid, that's dumb, that doesn't make sense, that was a poor decision. But I think I think I can really just paint with a broad stroke here of saying the main reason why this movie doesn't work is the fact that it is in no way interested in exploring Michael Jackson as a person, and instead wants to explore him as a symbol, more so an angelic figure that didn't do anything wrong and was always kept down by different elements of his life, whether it's his family or whether it's different record producers that didn't see his vision. And I'm sorry, from a movie perspective, that does not give you an interesting film. The fact that Michael is not portrayed as someone that has any sort of personal struggles, that has any sort of flaws, that the movie always portrays him as like literally with like this like shining golden light, that whenever he appears, he's someone that like, oh, this is a once in a generation person. This no performer will ever be like this. Which if you've listened to Michael Jackson's music and if you know the history of him, I'm not saying isn't true, but when you come to a movie, when you have a main character that's literally portrayed as perfect as someone like Jesus, it doesn't it doesn't give it doesn't make for a very interesting film. And I think the fact that the filmmaker and the estate were not focused on making Michael seem like a three-dimensional character is what makes this movie fundamentally fail from the very jump. It is about as run-of-the-mill as you might expect from a music biopic. The music biopic seems to be maybe the number one genre that gets the most like scrutiny and eye rolls from major movie fans. It seems like from like a producer standpoint, like the easiest way to generate Oscar buzz or to get like or to really showcase a great performance from an actor. It's the easiest way to get audiences into seats because you can just see like play the music of these famous musicians that audiences love. But it rarely ever leads to very like interesting films or really like substantive films. There have been music biopics I have liked in the past. I did quite enjoy Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. I like Straight Outta Compton, which came out I think like 11 years ago at this point. But most of them end up being very, very generic. Deliver Us From Nowhere last year is probably the biggest example of the Bruce Springsteen biopic. One Love with the Bob Marley movie. Nothing very special there. This one genuinely feels like it is a level below those movies with how it genuinely feels like as I sit on the movie more and more because I saw it last night. This movie gave me nothing of interest or nothing of substance of what I didn't already know about Michael Jackson. And that's not saying that like I'm some Michael Jackson expert. I just know the major facts about his life of he had a really bad relationship with his dad. His dad was abusive. He started out as a child performer. He eventually broke off and he was extremely talented. The movie gets into the Pepsi accident where his hair caught on fire, and then an ending with him deciding to break away from his family and go make his records on his own. It doesn't give you anything interesting. It doesn't portray Michael as an interesting character. We get a lot of honestly, the major thing we really learn about Michael as a person is as a kid, we often see him reading Peter Pan and him saying that that's his favorite story, which I'm sorry, the fact that even if that's true, the fact that no one told the director, hey, maybe don't make as many Peter Pan references as you can about Michael Jackson because the movie cuts off it in the 80s for a reason because we'll get to that later in the review. But the fact that was just like an oversight from all the filmmakers, baffling to me. But yeah, the movie doesn't give you anything interesting about Michael as a person. The script feels like it was just the definition of a first draft script that just wants to share facts and doesn't want to share any form of a plot. Like things just happen. You can very clearly tell that a lot of scenes were reshot because like we'll be introduced to a conflict of like, Michael might be wanting to, might be needing to make some cuts to his vision in order for the record label to pick him up. He seems like he's struggling, and then the next second we have a cut, and he's walking to the record label's office, and it seems like he's made up his decision. It's like there was no sort of struggle there. There was no sort of like discussions there, character-wise. Really, you really feel just how like bundled together and just Frankenstein-esque this movie does feel just from a like pure framing device or just from a pure like editing level. I will say if I were to give this movie its flowers, Jafar Jackson, who does play Michael Jackson throughout the majority of the film because a different actor does portray Michael as a kid. Giuliano Cruvaldi plays him in the era when he was a member of the Jackson 5. He's really solid, but Jafar Jackson, who plays him as an adult, uncanny how similar he is to all of Michael's like mannerisms and how great of just like completely like embodying the spirit of Michael Jackson as a person. Every time we are with him, the movie doesn't feel unwatchable because I couldn't help but just be entranced with how similar it genuinely felt like I was watching Michael Jackson alive once again through Jafar Jackson because of how similar he was to the character. Like I have not had the time to watch a lot of interviews with Jafar, so maybe this is just how he is, But if this is a true impression, it did not feel like an impression at all because it didn't feel forced in any way. It genuinely felt like that was Michael Jackson on my screen. And it did genuinely make me hope that Jafar Jackson does have a future as an actor, and whether he can do anything else aside from this, because this is a performance that could be like unwatchable in the wrong hands. Just like Michael Jackson has such a distinctive voice, he has such distinctive mannerisms, and like and that could feel unwatchable. Jafar makes this film watchable to a point. I don't think this is a good movie, but he is a reason to watch the movie. Another major reason I will say to watch this film is the first couple concert scenes. Look, Michael Jackson is a very troubling figure. I don't want to get into his personal life or the allegations made against him in the 90s. I think most people know about those. If you don't, go look them up. But obviously, very, very terrible allegations. I can't deny that I do really enjoy his music, and when I am hearing his music on screen and listening to it, it is effective. You understand why this music completely captured the world. Michael always says in this movie, like, music is the universal language, and hearing this music, you understand why. Now, I will say this movie has maybe like 6 or 7 concert scenes. After maybe the third one, I started to get really, really sick and tired of them because it really just felt like it's at certain points, we were just hopping from concert scene to concert scene. Not to spoil the ending of this. Okay, I will be spoiling the ending of this movie. This movie ends in 1988 when Michael decides to officially go solo. The second to last scene is Michael wrapping up a concert. And then the last scene is another concert 4 years later. Like there was no sense of like backstage scene of the care of Michael like talking with his family, of Michael like talking with his record producers, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. It's just concert scene to concert scene, movie ends, and it's just like, this is very clear what the movie was interested in, and it just didn't make for a very good film, and doesn't give you any reason to remember it in a really artistic way. Like I said, it makes some very superficial choices that I just think were just baffling. I already said just the tone-deaf decision to constantly call back to the fact that of how much Michael loves Peter Pan. Because if you know the allegations and everything about the Neverland Ranch, you can't help but an audience member just keep thinking about that, and you just end up feeling gross watching this movie. And the other major decision I was confused by where I understand why you had to do this, but I can't deny it wasn't handled very well. Bubbles the monkey, obviously Michael had a pet monkey growing up, or a pet chimpanzee. The chimpanzee is CGI in this movie. Now, you can't get a real CGI due to new movie laws where obviously having a chimpanzee on set would be very unsafe. That being said, the CGI is very, very bad on this chimpanzee, and for it only being in a couple scenes, you either could have cut that out or you could have made the CGI look a lot better. But yeah, just the way this movie decides to yada yada around certain parts of Michael's life, and then really focus on like what seems like small and uninteresting parts of his life. Like Quincy Jones maybe has like one scene in this movie, and if you know how important Quincy Jones was to Michael's life, that seems really confusing. Quincy Jones, obviously one of the most famous music producers of all time, but it decides to spend a lot of time on Michael's lawyer, played by Miles Teller, who's giving just sort of their performance. Nia Long plays Michael's mom. She's really not given anything to do. Coleman Domingo is okay. Coleman Domingo is just such a charismatic actor that you can give him so little, and it would be hard for him to mess that up. He's solid in the movie. He plays your typical run-of-the-mill bad dad character in a biopic, and every scene with him goes exactly how you think it's going to go. Honestly, that is one of the major issues with this movie. Is I don't think there was a single scene that ended in a way where I was surprised. Like, as I was watching this movie, every time a scene would go on, I was like, okay, this is how the scene's going to end. And it would end that way. And that is a very, very frustrating, frustrating thing for a movie to do, is to not give you any sort of surprise or subverted expectation while watching the movie. I get there's a reason for giving the audience what they want, but when it is this cookie cutter and this generic, you can't help but want more. Yeah, this movie ends with the message of his story continues, and apparently they want to make a second one if this movie does well. And from the box office of this weekend, we're probably going to be getting a second one. I believe this is the highest grossing opening weekend for any biopic ever. I believe it beat Oppenheimer. And so we could get a second movie. The idea of them tackling the court cases in this and them tackling the end of Michael's life in the 2000s is just baffling if they go with this exact same vision. But I was really, really unimpressed with what we got here. And when people make fun of music biopics, this is the type of movie they make fun of. There is a moment where Michael's trying to decide, like, okay, when he's making Thriller and he's the album Thriller, and he's like, okay, what song are we gonna choose to name the album after? And you just keep cutting him back to just watching horror movies, and then he just goes to the card and just puts Thriller at the top. It's like that is the full-on like Walk Hard, like just every single joke that people make about biopics. That it is that in a nutshell. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely awful, 10 being amazing, I'm going low, guys. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10. I think this was a really, really terrible film. The lead performance by Jafar Jackson, notwithstanding, it's everything that people, the people that really hate biopics. This is everything distilled into why they hate him. It doesn't give you anything interesting about the character. It portrays the central figure as this perfect human being, while everyone around him was the wrong one or just didn't get him. And we don't want that. We don't want our film characters to be perfect. We want them to be flawed individuals. And Michael is not interested in portraying that. Even if you're like a diehard Michael Jackson fan, just go home and just watch his music videos, because I think it's going to be more entertaining than watching this film. This one I would recommend you do stay away from, because you're not going to be getting anything that unique about it, except for a pretty good lead performance. But I say we jump right into our second review of the night, that being Mother Mary. This is the most recent film from David Lowery. David Lowery is one of my favorite filmmakers working right now. If you've seen A Ghost Story, if you've seen The Green Knight, if you've seen The Old Man and the Gun, even some like recent like live action Disney movies, like he did the remake of Pete's Dragon, which I think is a lot better than people give it credit for. Lowery is just someone that really, really makes films that really speak to me on my personal wavelength. I just realized my camera's a little blurry. Let me see if I can fix that real fast. I'm just gonna do some resolution. Okay, there we go, sweet. But yeah, David Lowery is a filmmaker that really, really interests me and tackles things that I really engage with as a movie watcher. This film is about a pop star who is reuniting with a former costume designer from her past, and she really needs a new outfit for her upcoming concert. We learned that this pop star and this costume designer had a bit of a falling out in the past, and they might be needing to might essentially be needing to tackle some certain things. The pop star Mother Mary, played by Anne Hathaway, the costume designer Sam Anselm, played by Michaela Cole. And as they start discussing, we might learn that there may have been a little bit more bad history than is being led on. And also, who knows, there might be some supernatural forces that might be watching these characters. I'm just going to come out and say it. This is a tough movie to describe without spoiling it. But I will say this is one of my favorite films of the year. And if I could just stop the review right now and just say, like, go see it if you can, if you're really into like ethereal, artistic movies that doesn't give you all the answers, this is the movie for you. But to talk about it on a slightly more critical level, the movie from like frame one establishes such a haunting atmosphere and setting through its lighting and its colors. The majority of this film is set in this barn that Sam owns, and you're really just following Sam and Mary as they discuss their past, as they discuss their views on life, as they discuss how their relationship sort of fell apart, the anger that maybe Sam still feels for Mary for how Mary treated her, and so much of just like the sound effects in the back, because it takes place on a very rainy night, so you're always hearing this rain when you're in the barn. Just how quiet how quiet this conversation feels. It's a very intimate film, but also a very like unsettling film. And I love movies that are able to take an atmosphere and make you feel so many different different feelings as you're watching it. This is a movie that puts a lot on the two lead actresses' shoulders. And I think Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole sell everything. Michaela Cole, I have not seen I May Destroy You. I believe that was the name of her TV show on HBO. Let me just make sure that's what it's called. Yeah, I May Destroy You. I hear that was excellent, but I just recently saw The Christophers, the new Steven Soderbergh movie, and that was another two-hander with her and Ian McKellen. She is an amazing actress, and just the way she has such a unique like look to her and such a unique like way she delivers her lines, where I love how like there's every single line she delivers. It feels very like low key, but you can tell from the way she's speaking, she carries so much anger and baggage towards everything. And Hathaway is someone, and Mary is someone who can very clearly tell that like, look, this is not my first choice to come back. I wish I didn't have to come see you again because I know I've made mistakes. At the same time, we have to do this, and Hathaway does a great job of slowly showing like regret and sorrow for her decisions in the past. Hathaway is an actress I really, really enjoy, and I feel like she's kind of having like a moment in 2026. I believe this is her first of 5 movies that are coming out this year, because we got Devil Wears Prada 2 next week. We also have The End of Oak Street. She's going to be in The Odyssey, Verity. So yeah, she's having a great comeback. And there are also a ton of scenes that Hathaway has where I looked up. This movie had a lot of quite a long production, and apparently it was for Hathaway to get in shape for a lot of the physical performance she has to do. As I said, there are a lot of supernatural elements in this movie. There's one scene in particular where Hathaway is like acting out a dance routine that she is planning to do for her upcoming concert, and it very much mimics someone that's like being possessed by a ghost or like going through an exorcism. And just the way how Hathaway just makes you feel like the pain for that character as she is just convulging on the screen. I don't think I've ever seen like a physical performance from her quite like this, and she handles that very, very well. So yeah, 2 amazing performances at the center of this movie. It does a great job of giving you just enough info, but through this conversation, without just straight up telling you what happened between these characters. You never really know what Mary exactly did to Sam. All you know is that it was big, and Sam has not quite forgiven it, and that emotion really helps you carry. It really just has you asking questions like, okay, what did this person do who once considered her? Why did these 2 people who were once considered best friends have such a falling out where like Sam refuses to even listen to Mary's music, and you just can't help but like key in on every single small detail. And really try to put the puzzle together. This is a puzzle box movie. I will admit, if you're not into those types of movies, it's not going to be for you. It doesn't give you all the answers. But I was always engaged with how Lowry and how the actors were always just giving me small bits of information as the film goes on. It never outwardly tells you whether this is a metaphorical story or whether this is a literal ghost story, because there are moments where the ghosts do feel like they genuinely might be real. Again, the movie never really gives you like a clear answer, and I really, really enjoy that. There are some gorgeous imagery in this movie. The color red is so present in my mind when I think back on this movie, and which makes sense because Mary constantly says she doesn't want any part of red in her outfit while she's performing. And as you slowly understand why that is, it just ends up striking more and more into your mind. The score by Daniel Hart feels haunting. Another just like small thing I really love. I love when a movie's about a musician and you understand why that musician in this world is so popular. If I were to compare, if I were to compare Mother Mary to another like real life musician, maybe like Jesse Ware would be like the best comp, or maybe like a slightly less weird Bjork. And just like listening to her music, this movie has original music by FKA Twigs, who does appear as herself in this movie. Yeah, just a ton of really, really great just how this movie just creates the character of Mother Mary and crafts the world around her. Really, really well developed. Yeah, this is one of my favorite movies of the year. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a flat 9 out of 10. This once again proves why Lowry is one of the more interesting filmmakers working today. It is ethereal. It is thought-provoking. It doesn't. It offers a lot of ideas and a lot of like questions, like what is this movie truly about? But it lets you be the one to answer that, and I really, really appreciate that. I would highly recommend you go see this in theaters. I think Hathaway and Michaela Cole are excellent. Michaela Cole having a current moment right now. Hathaway is going to continue to have a moment throughout the rest of the year. And yeah, Mother Mary, one of the better movies I've seen so far early on in the year. About a third of the way done. Movie summer starts next week. And speaking of next week, thank you all for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm definitely going to be reviewing The Devil Wears Prada 2, as well as I believe the movie is called Deep Water, the new shark movie, directed by Rennie Harlan. He is coming back after, I believe, a 29-year hiatus from Deep Blue Sea. This is probably just going to be a fun, junky movie, but I'm excited for it. Excited for the summer movie season to begin. Thank you all for tuning in, and as always, until next time, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.